Nice to be back. We have something crazy happening. Brandon, you were on time, and now John, technically the last
You're
one,
late.
depending on how I edit this, like
Yeah.
It was on. I just wasn't hearing you guys, and I thought it was my computer. So I was like, let me restart and do my due diligence.
he was like, you know what? I'm just gonna put on my good purple shirt that I know the people love. I'm gonna do what I have to do. I gotta take care of me.
The shirt and the voice. There he is, ladies and gentlemen. Jon Gorski.
Oh,
With a
y'all.
staff too.
We're
Changed up a
back.
little bit.
We're fucking back. It feels like too long. God dang.
Just straight to it. Cheers.
Cheers.
Dude. So I'm doing coffee tonight. I need it.
Me too. It's beer that has coffee in it. It's like coffee and chocolate. It's a stout that's flavored with coffee and cocoa nibs. So I feel like we're doing a very similar thing, I think.
Yeah. And we're off to a great start with season 2 of the Refinery.
I mean, season 2,
Yeah.
y'all, I'm so excited about tonight. This is, first off, like before y'all got here, which was like 30 seconds from the minute that I like clicked on, but I was sitting here and I was just like overwhelmed with excitement, and I was like, I wonder what it's going to be like. And it's exactly the same. Like, of course it is. It's just John has a different background because we're doing this a little later, but other than that,
I did not plan for that. I like all day was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna set up in the back, and then I open my back door. I'm like, oh, no lights, great.
Right.
Rethink the next one.
Is that how you say? Yeah.
Get to rethink the next one.
Oh man.
But the Movember mustache is looking real nice.
Oh,
Rocking
yeah,
the
that's
hat.
great.
Yeah, trying to. I know I've had a few people. I'm like, what's up with the mustache? And maybe go right into the Movember flu. And I tell you right now, not one person that I brought it up knew what Movember really meant. They all were like, oh, it's that mustache thing. I'm like, and it's also one of the largest nonprofits for men. And they're like, oh, I never knew that. I'm like,
now just to double down, I'll push you to talk about it a little bit more. Now, what I know of it, what I remember of it, I believe it's to raise money for awareness, prostate cancer awareness in men. Am I correct?
It's prostate testicular cancer as well as men's suicide prevention. Yeah, they jumped on that one a few years back, and I think they're the largest men's suicide prevention as well, let alone like organization.
Yeah.
Great.
Brandon's actually done some really good stuff with them.
Yeah, we've had some fun, and they do this event. Well, they did this event before this virus. Oh my God, wait. Did we ever talk about the pandemic?
No.
Have we talked about the pandemic?
Not really like in depth.
Yeah.
Because we started in June.
Yeah. I think we kind of started it in the midst of being like, I remember, I mean, one of the first ones was, I think the first one that we did on here was what it means to be an American. And so we were already in like, everybody was already like, no. Yeah. Pandemic, social justice. Now. Like it was, we skipped we were just like, nope. But don't you worry. We're going to talk about that a little bit today. It's kind of funny that you brought it up, and it's no lie. It's in the Refinery season 2 notebook. So
I can't see nothing. I can't see.
Okay.
It's a good move.
There we go. Now we can see it. Season 2 written on there. I like it.
Because I've also got like the Part of Love notebook and the new studios notebook. That's a whole thing. We'll talk. But I'm so stoked about this. And no, we have not talked about it, but we are going to tonight. And I think this seems like about the right time to jump into it. Everybody good? Well, first off, how's everybody doing today? Like, just like, good? Thumbs up?
Been a back-to-back day. A little overcommitted on how much I could do, but I've been getting everything done, but it's literally been like, I got off the last call, get on this one, I got off this call, I have to finish watching a movie to join Book and Movie Club, to get off that call, do a dance video for like 20 minutes, and then I can call tonight at like 9:45.
I would like to touch base on all of those things.
Yeah.
First off, we're gonna just go in reverse order. Dance video.
Yeah, I have a friend
tutorial that you're doing.
No. I have a friend who she's doing this compilation of a bunch of people doing this specific like impromptu dance, and so she's getting all of us to do it at the same time, so then she can compile it to a video.
That's really cute.
Yeah.
And I feel you on the back-to-back meetings. Brandon and I talked a little bit yesterday, and it was literally, I was like, he called, and I was like, okay, yeah, I have this time, right? And I looked at Ange, and she was like, she's not even there. It's acting. And she was like, yeah, you have 30 minutes. And I was like, great. Hey, what's up, buddy? Like, fully got off the phone with you, got onto calls, and I was actually on a call right before this that wrapped a little bit early, and I was like, man, I've got 14 minutes. The fuck am I gonna do with myself? Like, this is incredible. What a day.
Mm-hmm.
So Brandon, how about you? Thumbs up today?
We're doing okay today.
All right.
We're doing okay. We're doing just okay today.
I mean, you look like you're doing better than okay, but it's probably the cable knit sweater. I'm not gonna lie. It's fancy as fuck.
Thank you. So oddly, I just danced in this in a music video. Not a music video. Sorry, excuse me, not yet. But there's this artist named Luca, and I was like drinking whiskey, and I was like, I feel like dancing in the kitchen. Fuck it. Close the doors, put the music on. I really recorded it because I haven't danced in 2 months, and I wanted to see what my movement had become, right? Like, what is my movement now? I think I've put on 8 pounds. So I'm like, your bigger body, what's gonna happen? Can my wave be a wave, or is it just a? And I think I'm waving. I'm waving.
It's happening unintentionally, like. Just like, I didn't mean to section that off, but I couldn't lift more than down to the elbow and then just push the rest out. I feel you on that. During Rock of Ages, when I was like really heavy into weightlifting, and I got up to 207, and it was right after Dirty Dancing, and that was when they were like,
dude, 207?
Yeah, it was 207. And you know, I'm 5'11" and a minute bit of change, a negligible bit of change. 207 does not a light dancer make.
No.
So when I went to do Dirty Dancing, when I was in the auditions, they were like, hey, this is great. Nobody in the 60s that was a dance instructor was this big. Can you stop working out, please?
Yeah, and in your legs. Your legs get hella big.
Yeah, I haven't. Yeah. It's actually a problem for like any kind of ballet, for fifth position, anything that's tight like that. Like, it's become an issue. And even though I don't train them anymore and haven't for a year or more, either way, I ended up losing 30 pounds for that.
Holy shit!
Oh, it was crazy. But I feel you. It looks entirely different when you.
It feels different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But oddly so, the video kind of took off.
Mm-hmm.
It's over 30,000 views right now. Like, it took off, and I was like, I've been posting videos for a hot minute, guys. A hot minute. But one friend shared, then another friend shared, then another friend shared, then this friend shared, and then the artist himself commented. But it's so funny because people are like picking out weird things like, I love his sweater. What whiskey are you drinking? And I'm like, the things people pay attention to in the video.
Yeah, it would have been like watching what you and Marcus were doing for those videos, and being like, man, the interior decoration of this house is just fantastic.
It's great. It's fantastic.
Subtle.
Is that maple?
Is that maple?
That's maple.
How dare you?
They've got cedar wood. They've got cedar wood. That's crazy.
Oh, okay. Well, so topic for this season opener, season 2 of the Refinery. I think you unintentionally already touched on it, but it's why we're thankful for 2020. I think this is something to really explore and to kind of throw out there. And it definitely, even when I say it, it kind of catches me off guard. It makes me almost defensive about it when you first hear it, because everybody's kind of go-to is fuck 2020, essentially, you know, for lack of a better term or larger vocabulary. So I want to talk today about what, in 3 parts, what you are most thankful for in 2020. So the large scale, meaning like, you know, socially, what you've seen in the world. On a personal small scale of what your social group, your friends and family, and then personally. I would like us to talk about those 3 things in no particular order, whatever comes to mind. John's nodding his head while Brandon is looking up to the sky. So John, you are going to go first. And away with you, young sir.
Gladly. I mean, this was a year of change. And I've, over the years, have come to be okay with change. And so I think that's the first thing I'm grateful for, because I was living in a house with my brother and some other friends, which I love them and loved that situation. I was there for 9 years. But I did move this year and moved with 2 amazing women, have enjoyed the memories that have already been created here. But it's also given me a lot to really ask what's important. And one of the big things is the people who really matter. I do consider myself a social person who likes to hang out with people and meeting people. I'm always down to take any meeting, down to meet any person anyone recommends. But with this year, it really shined in on who are the people who I really want to spend my time with, who do I really want to talk to, who do I want to grow with and stuff. And it's been eye-opening of just really seeing also in return, seeing the people who reach out to me. I've had a couple of friends who we've always been good friends, but like when this kind of happened this year, they pulled me as one of their like inner circle people. And I was kind of surprised with a few of them, because I was like, oh, we see each other here and there, but like they're like, no, you've always been a good person, like, and this is a year of like really surrounding yourself with good people. So it was like a nice blessing to myself, and like, oh my, didn't know you saw me in that light. And also just also looking at myself, where like I've loved where life has been the last 2 years, career wise and stuff, but realizing there's a few priorities I've kind of put in the back burner, because my goal was career. Like, let's go with career. Let's keep building. Let's keep building, keep building. And a lot of it was traveling, like getting to travel all over the world and do all stuff, which great in that. And when you're in it, it feels great. And you want to just get to the next trip and the next trip and next trip. But when I started watching all my trips basically canceled for this year, I was like, oh man, I have to be home. I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. I've been so in this. And now I'm like, I joke around with a couple of friends. I'm like, how do I live COVID lifestyle after COVID's done? Because I've been kind of enjoying not doing as much travel or not doing so much, and actually relaxing at home and like picking up random little hobbies and like taking care of little things, and spending longer with friends than before, where I would spend like an hour with a friend, move on to the next thing, move on to the next thing. Now I'm catching myself spending like 4 hours with a friend at times. So really focusing in on what really matters and kind of reshaping these next couple of years.
I love that. You said something about travel that I think is super interesting, and you know, we've talked a lot before about like taking the lessons that you've learned here in COVID and moving forward with them, not forgetting them just because everything just, you know, goes back to normal in whatever way you perceive that to be, but taking those lessons that you learned and those things about yourself. And what's really interesting that you touched on travel about is I saw a quote that when I was in my 20s, just like, I was like, oh man, that's great. And it was travel, it makes you a more interesting person, which I can understand. However, I've been talking a lot about the flip side of things. You know, everything's a coin. It's got a good and a bad, and how your perception of that is what's going to change that. And travel is great if you use it as a tool to learn more about yourself. But if you're just running away from yourself, if you're just running away from your issues and you're just going, no, I just love travel. I love being in Bali. Look at this pool. Like, that's very different than what we've all been forced to do, which is what you just said, sit at home and be like, who am I? Like, that moment, that's that thing that I hope everybody gets to have or is forced to have. You know, change isn't comfortable. change is, I mean, by its very nature, usually uncomfortable to some degree. And yeah, I'm on the same page with you about that. Unintentionally, I transitioned into what I'm thankful for, but I'm thankful for that that moment of recognizing and recognition of who I am, who I want to be. And I've, I talked about it here on the channel. Like, I think when I was doing that movie, it doesn't matter where I was, but I was in a place mentally when Brandon, I think you asked me a question and you said, what do you think has changed the most in your life? Being with Ange. And I just recognized this year that what changed most about me being with her was that I became myself. I allowed myself to be myself. I was stuck trying so hard to be a good man for whoever I was going to be with, or look like a good person. And this year I was just so sick of asking. I felt needy. It was funny. The thing when I needed everybody the least, because I haven't felt the need to reach out as much. But when I felt that need less, I finally got to look at myself and go, oh shit, you've been so needy, just fucking begging everybody for their attention and their appreciation of who you are pretending to be, instead of just being that person. Because the person you want to be doesn't actually care. The person you want to be respects yourself enough to be whoever that is and actually believe in it. So on a personal level, that is hands down what I'm most thankful for in 2020 was the eventuality of fuck it that just came into my life, where I was like, nah, I really like hanging out with me and I'm going to do more of it.
So I think it's beautiful you mentioned, just a touch. I know Brandon's about to go, but the idea of getting time to, because we were out all the time, we didn't realize that when we stayed home, what we don't actually need. And we thought we needed, because a lot of it was the image that we're putting out to the world. Now we let go of that. And there's a lot of stuff that we're like, oh, I don't actually need to do this anymore. So that's cool that you mentioned that. Yeah.
Lots of deep sighs over here, because I think what I was most excited to share about in season 2 was the actualization and embracing of myself. I've been telling people I'm more Brandon than I've ever been, but what they don't understand that's attached to that is it came from a very dark place. I turned 32 this year. I'm pretty sure I talked about my aunt passing away on here. But it sent me into the deepest state of a funk, depression that I had ever experienced in my life, where I had no motivation for life. My routines were shit. My room was never picked up. The food that I ate was not, the healthiest for me. And then I found the horses, or the horses found me. So anyone who's following me or knows me knows that I've been riding heavily now for God knows 4 months. And being around the horses has become the representation and the symbol of what freedom means to me, what being Brandon means to me. People say he's a black cowboy, he's this cowboy, and really it's just like, it's not even about being a cowboy. It's like this, being in this environment and this stillness and this peace around these animals brings out the part of me that a lot of people will never get to see, because I'm just now seeing it. I'm just now embracing it. I'm just now walking in it at 32, because as Colt was saying, you spend so much time trying to be the good guy, trying to be this guy, looking for validation. Tell me I'm a gentleman. Tell me I'm a this. Tell me I'm a that. That you're fucking exhausted. That you never really get to sit in and sit with who you are. So in 2020, though it came from one of the darkest times of my life, I was so happy that something was birthed from the death in my life. And I can't say that about any other year. I can't say that about any other time in my life. I can say that about August 2020, I found something that set me free. That was my therapy, that brought me closer to my dreams, my passions, that made the little boy in me come super alive, and that it's no longer the little boy and the man, but they have become one. And in regards to family and friendships in 2020, I've been encouraged to have more one-on-one calls with men and talk to men in a very real way, checking on them, talking to them for 35 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, hour and a half. And I'll say, dude, this feels so good. I don't have this with anyone. And because of the time, because, you know, they're not working, or I'm have free time, or I'm not working and I've got free time, we're able to connect in a different way. I've found the beauty in two men just getting on a call and saying, how are you doing with everything? You have a daughter, but you're not working. How is not having income impacting you? Your wife is this. You just lost a relative to COVID. How are you dealing with that? How are you coping with that? And then those conversations have become such a healing ground on both ends of the phone. And I think lastly, I would have to say, you know, this, you know, I would have to say Zoom and having to sit in front of these cameras and connect and spend 45 minutes to an hour of our time creating content to put good into the world. I don't know if the world was normal that we would have been moved and motivated to really do this, for Colt, for you to go out and buy the equipment, for Jon, for you to be like, okay, how do I do this? How do I create this platform for men digitally? Because I can't go do it. You're an event person, you're an event planner, right? Like the things you do are physical, in person, and you can't. So how do I reach my masses? How do I reach my audience? How do I reach men? And this year was the year that this was brought to life. But for so many, they've lost their businesses. They've lost family members will never get back. They've lost. But we've gained something and we're giving something. And so for that, I am grateful for all of those things in this year, where there's for so many, there's not a lot to be grateful for.
That was beautiful. I like that. You caught me at one point where I literally was like, motherfucker, how dare you? There's something that you just spoke on that largely speaks to me. Obviously a lot of it, but we talk about that a lot of it, not intentionally, privately, but I loved your dance. You know how I feel about you and the horses. It's something that's very calming and soothing and exciting, especially knowing my history with that and being so excited to come out and spend some time doing that. I think you put something up recently saying like, hey, y'all, a lot of y'all are calling me asking about like, hey, you know, when can we go riding and when can we do these things? And what's interesting is, yes, Zoom allowed us this opportunity to connect, even though, Jon, you were already doing these talks.
Yeah.
But they have, thankfully, in a strange way, they've reached a wider audience because of the inability for us to have to choose a time. Somebody wrote me today and they were like, hey, are you guys, they had written me obviously before Sunday, but I didn't notice it because I never get on Instagram. But they said, hey, are you doing your live game show? I miss them. And my teacher never watches them live, but always watches them later. And I was like, that's the key right there. That's the thing. I'm so thankful that we get this time. But the irony is nobody but the three of us is ever sharing this time with us now. They're setting aside time later for these conversations. They're finding time. And we are, yeah, right. We're making time. And that's something that I appreciate so much. And so, you know, I would say that on an even more of a kind of microcosmic scale of Brandon, what you just said about Zoom in general, I will say, and I know that you were talking about the Refinery as the impetus for that conversation, and then making it a larger thing. Mine, though it spans out to the larger thing socially, selfishly, this has been the biggest surprise, thankful thing of 2020 for me. We had already moved into, at the end of 2019, doing Part of Love and beginning this channel and beginning that platform. And this, though, was an entire off the, I would say off the cuff, but it's not what I mean. It came out of nowhere. It was out of left field that Jon, you had been doing this thing, that Brandon invited me to it, that then we all just happened to get along so well that this worked out, and that we have a similar view of where this is going. And the fact that we have not done a live, and I don't mean even live Zoom, I mean in live in person, the first fucking live in person event for the Refinery is going to be fucking crazy. I am so excited. I'm so excited for that energy of what that's going to be. And yeah, I'm very thankful for this. I one last thing. I told Ange, I said, I hope we can get together on a weekend soon, or that we can get out to West Coast. You know, we can get out there hopefully in like February or something, right? Or that work brings us out before then. But either way, I was like, I hope we can do it on a weekend, because I would talk to these guys for 2.5, 3 hours. It'd be a Joe Rogan fucking podcast in here. We would be going for days, and I could sit there and do it.
Yeah.
Like, to be able to field questions from the audience and see what their opinions are, that then trigger us to go something outside of these three, you know, these four walls, these three minds. I'm just so stoked. That's something I'm incredibly thankful for selfishly in 2020, is you two and these conversations. So Brandon, thanks for saying it first.
Also, it's like just a ripple. I'm grateful for this platform, because the ripple, I had a friend reach out to me this past week that I hadn't talked to in a year. And her response, or the reason she reached out, is she finished watching all of the first season. And she reached out after, and she's like, wow, you really did some amazing stuff here. And I was touched, because I was like, wow, now I haven't talked to you in a long time, but you watched all of the season. Like, that's amazing. Like, I'm so great. I told her, I'm so grateful that you would take the time. And like you said, someone is choosing to take their time other day to watch these. And like, now I think we've all realized the most valuable thing we have is time. And so that's like the most, like, so what people choose to do with their time is a reflection of what we're doing here, who we are, let alone like how everyone is shaping this year. I think everyone is really being more coherent with what they're doing with their time.
That's the first thing that, Brandon, that you had me write. That was literally the first piece that I wrote for New Age Gents, was wasting time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a serendipitous kismet, whatever you want to say, that we're talking about it yet again. But it's true, man.
I don't know if it's just me, but I'm like this. I've never felt this on one of our calls. Like an overwhelming sense of gratitude. Overwhelming sense. Like, I'm taking so many deep breaths, because I'm like,
yeah, every time
that's real. That's real. That's real. Shit. Hey, no more realness. Cut it off. Hey, cut that shit. Cut it. Thank you. But it's not funny. I don't want to say funny. It's interesting, because I thought that I was in a space where I just got out of this funk. I'm good with the horses. I'm like, all right, I'm really, really good. And then my sister sends a text to, and I think this is going to segue you into something else here potentially, but my sister sends a text to our family group, and she says, Oma Budner and Opa Budner have both contracted COVID, and Opa has passed away due to COVID. Now, the Budners are a family that helped raise me as a kid, and my brother, and they helped my mom. So they have a massive, massive, massive place in our hearts in Kitzingen, Germany, where we were stationed over there. They, you know, I was introduced to black bread and all these German foods and boobs. And I put my hand on this woman's shirt, and my mom would be like, take his hand out of her shirt. I'm like, oh, he likes boobs. He likes boobs. Let him like the boobs, the little baby. And I'm her little Shotzi. And this is when I'm, you know, 1 year old, wherever the case may be. So one of my life goals was go back as an adult and hug this family that, you know, helped me become who I am, even though I didn't know that's what was happening at the time. And to think that, you know, with Opa, I can never go hug him, really fucked me up. You know, a friend of mine talked to me about mourning, and he says, you can mourn the memory, and you can mourn the dream you had of going to hug him. Mourn it. You can mourn these things. And potentially, because she's like 85, she's in her 80s, she's probably not gonna be, she's quarantining right now, she's probably not gonna be COVID. I don't know, God, please, whatever you do your thing, I trust you. But the reality of it was, I didn't know if that blow was gonna be the blow that took me out emotionally. Like, I'm just feeling better. I'm just feeling good again. And then, hey, this thing is taking away the people you love. And as we're talking about gratitude, instead of focusing on the fact that it took him away and it's impacting her, I was grateful for the fact that I can say that I know them.
I love that. My dad always says, he always said, you can mourn their death, but it's more important to celebrate their life. And I think that is something that a lot of us have had to, you know, come to terms with in varying degrees over 2020. But I think coming to terms with that and putting it in such a beautiful way. And it was funny because he always talked to me about it in the way that he was talking about his own death. He said, I want you, buddy, I'm gonna tell you what, all right, I want y'all to have a party. Y'all gonna have a good time, all right? He gets real quiet and leans in, talks with his hands, fucking beat up old hands. He's like, buddy, when I go, and I'm like 8, and he's like, when I die, I want you to have a party, all right? Y'all gonna have a party. Everybody gonna be drinking. I want y'all to celebrate. You know, mourn for a second, mourn me, but after that, I need you to celebrate. Because if I ain't done nothing worth celebrating, you don't need to mourn me. And I was like, could you just have some juice? Like, have some juice box. This is great. Philosophy's awesome.
Oh my God.
But like, there's some real beauty in that I think applies wholeheartedly to 2020 and I can't speak for everyone. Obviously, I would never. And P.S., this is just a qualifying statement. If you ever see any of my videos, anybody watching this, my opinions are my own and only that. I represent myself and my opinions and nobody else's, not theirs, not my wife's, not my dog's, nobody's but mine. And those are changing pretty rapidly, which is the whole point of the refinery. But yeah, I just, I thought maybe that might be something nice for you to hear. I feel like certain things that I connect with in that way are things that you will connect with very much. Y'all will connect with, as our Southern friends might say.
Yeah. There better be drinking. There better be some whiskey having.
My godfather, he's out in Maui. He's turning 89 this year, or he just turned 89 in July. And his brain is still there. He's fully conscious. His only thing about that he hates living in a senior citizen home is he feels like he's the only one who's 100% fully there, but his body's like not. And so he's just like, I got to deal with whatever it is. But I remember talking to him, and every time I try to visit him, I asked him like, what's some advice you want me to leave with? And he's just like, he remembers back to when his wife, my godmother, passed away. And he's like, the moment you lose something, immediately take a pause and think of everything you can be grateful for, because it's very easy to focus and go down the hole of like what you just lost. But like kind of like what you both have been sharing, think about the memories you were able to have, the experiences you were able to have, how that person touched your life, and then think about who else is still here and who you still have a chance to still connect with and engage with. But similar else what he said, he's like, but when I go, like, celebrate. He's like, I want a party be thrown for me. He's just like, because he's always been a jolly, bring everyone together for a celebration type of person. So he's like, I want the same thing for my life. Like, please celebrate the memories. I've lived a great life, so don't mourn, like, and don't worry that, oh, he's gone. He's like, yeah, I'm gone, but take the lessons, take what I've been able to teach you, and please live it through you, and keep being like, just keep enjoying your life, because we never know where to go. And it's always stuck with me of like, kind of similar to what both you're saying, have touched on. It's a very beautiful way of like dealing with this kind of thing.
I like that a lot.
Colt, do you have a next question that you're prompting? Because if not, I have one.
I don't have a next question, but if you would do me a favor, just because that led me to something else. Do you mind if I touch on that thing and then we'll
do it?
So, with regards to what you just said, celebrating, and I haven't thought of it until, ironically, and this is why I love perspective. Hearing you say something very similarly, but in a slightly different way, and from your life, opened up my world to a different way of looking at what has happened. Like my general next question has already kind of been touched on by both of you, which was going to be kind of what has been the hardest part of 2020. But what you talked about was unintentionally inspiring in me dealing with my hardest part of 2020, which has been like, I didn't lose my job. My wife and I lost our jobs on a Broadway show, and then Broadway, my entire life is gone. Like, it's just done. Our community has, I mean, it is not in existence for the first time since it came into existence. And I know for a lot of people that was a devastating blow. I remember because we were doing a matinee, just an afternoon show, and we came on stage and they called a company meeting, and we came out there thinking they're gonna, be like, hey, there's this thing, COVID, because we had one the day before, and they said you can't sign autographs anymore outside the stage door. No more signing. You have to just leave. We're not. You can't touch people. We're like, fine, that's okay. And the next day, so that was on a Friday, on a Saturday afternoon, we go in and they said, hey, this is our last show here in Austin. We'll see you in 2 weeks in San Antonio. You'll be paid. It's totally fine. Disney took care of us. 3 days later, we get an email, and thank God, Angelina and one of her friends, Selena, and a couple of other people on the cast were like, this is the last show. Like, it's possible. So we should all be taking pictures. And I was like, y'all, this thing's gonna like, this is not, because we didn't have any of the real statistics at that point. And fuck me, man. They were like, so the tour is officially closed. And then later that day, we found out Broadway is officially closed until July. Talked to some producer friends. They were like, it's closed until at least the fall. Month later, talked to producer friends. They were like, it's going to be 2021 all day. Now it's the fall of 2021, best case scenario, including a vaccine. That's a terrifying thing for an industry that brings in $877 billion annually to this country's like revenue. It's insane. And with regards to all this, I know I'm talking a lot, but I mourned it. I got upset. At first I was fine because I was like, it's going to be fine. And then when my hopeless romanticism turned into reality, of I have a wife. I want to have a baby. I want to have a family. Pivot, motherfucker. Get shit together. What are you going to do? And there was an element of going, okay, so how do we celebrate this? And this project that we're working on now, that is happening now, is that thing, is the thing that's going to help the community go forward and work together and create something. But it took this awful thing, the death, even momentarily, of an entire community for that to blossom, for so many people to go, okay, how do we now do something? How do we get called to action? And that is by far been something that has been equally the hardest part of 2020, and the thing I'm most grateful for is watching the community of performers around the world figure out new shit.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Figure out how Travis Scott did a Fortnite concert. Like, what? Just a free video game concert for everybody that has the video game. Let's just do it this way. We're all having to figure things out. But you suddenly have a perspective on going, oh my God, I really love, as Angeline always says, I just want to be sitting at my makeup station at 7:30 doing my makeup to go on that stage. That's all I want. She said that so many times. And I will hopefully never take that for granted again, whenever it happens, however it happens. And I've been fortunate, that we're okay through all of this. But fuck. Oh, I'm so thankful, and simultaneously still trying to shake the anger part of it that I have no control over. So why be angry? Why mourn it?
That part.
I mean, even today, it was interesting because I have a couple of friends in the industry that we keep each other in loop of what's the new like restrictions and new things that are going on for event planners. Because like I remember from the very beginning, like I was asking this question actually in December. I randomly started asking people, I'm like, yo, if there's another recession, because we're long overdue from a recession, what is your game plan? Because we are a luxury industry. We are not necessity. There's no like partying isn't something that has to happen. What is your next game plan? And I would talk to people about this. And originally my game plan was like, oh, I'm going to Europe and I'll work the European market. And I watched when COVID came, Europe closed down before America. And I was like, my backup plan just closed down on me. So I was like, okay. But I think back to 2008, and it was like the gig economy came out of that recession. Airbnb, Uber, Postmates, all these apps were born out of that recession. And so I kept reminding myself, oh, it's just innovation. Like we're going to innovate and we'll recreate and we'll keep moving forward. And the event industry is a massive industry. And like, I've been very fortunate because I work for people who are very high up, and we're in a small bracket that's like, they're going to keep doing events. Like while people are losing events left and right, they've been picking up events for next year. Like I've had planners, and I think I mentioned in the call that one planner picked up a couple $1 million weddings for next year while this is happening. And so it's like, I know the event industry is going to figure out and keep moving forward. But even today, like a buddy of mine sent me an article of like, now that we're going back into some more lockdowns, here's a list of the top 20 industries that are going to really suffer from this. And number 2 is event planning and coordination. It's like, we're going to see the biggest drop coming out of that industry. And so my buddy and I are talking because we were just like, what are your thoughts? And both of us, while we were like, our morning, like, wow, this is going to really impact us, both of us immediately thought, okay, well, there's something to innovate here. There's going to be opportunity out of this, not to take advantage of someone else's loss, but it's just like, that's what the situation is. The economy shifts like this at times. We've seen this happen. But it's that balance of being mourning and taking it in, because there's been times where I'm like bummed that I'm at home or I'm not traveling or I'm not, just how much I miss, even though there were long days, stressful days. I miss it. I miss being in the mix. I miss the creativity. But it's just that reminder of like, okay, we'll get back to this eventually. And we're just like, what it looks like and how is that going to look like and how do we stay involved in it? It's fascinating. And it's just like, I just go back to that, the amount of times I've talked to people where they are freaking out and they don't know what it's going to look like. I'm like, this is the time to innovate. This is what great. humans will figure it out. We always have. We've always figured a way to keep things moving forward. And fortunately, we're in a country like America that we have access to anything we really want. Like some of it may be hard to get, and it's not necessarily easy to access for everyone, which is, yes, I don't agree with it's fair, but there's a way to get to it. And it does take some hard work, and it does get creative, and it does surround yourself by the right people who are going to help remind you when things get tough. Like, yo, don't worry, we're going to get back up. You're going to get back on the stage. You're going to be like, Angie's definitely going to be back in front of mirror doing her makeup to get back on stage. Like, it's going to happen. And it's having people surrounding each other to remind that helps to keep going and keep dealing with the random stuff that we're going to have to deal with over the next couple months.
Yep. Brandon, I apologize for the diatribe, as it were, but your question is...
No, I think I've been pondering it here and there of how I want to pose it. It's coming from a little bit of everything that we've talked about today, and I think it'd be a really good bow for our first episode back on season 2. We've talked about what we're grateful for. We've talked about the beauty of what it means to be you, to find yourself. We've talked about mourning. We've talked about shifts and the unexpected. What does it mean to you to live a life worth celebrating?
Did you repeat that one more time, because it lagged on the second on my end? So
sure. What does it mean to you to live a life worth celebrating?
You know what? I'll jump in here. My initial reaction, which is what this is about, is now, after 2020, and not 2020 from everyone's perspective, but my 2020 from my perspective, is a life that I am proud of. I can't tell you what that involves. I can't tell you all the details of it, and I wouldn't pretend to try to make some Instagrammable quote that, works well with a wolf face and a snow thing behind. You know what I mean? Like, there's some great shit out there that's very inspiring in the moment and gets me through my workouts, but I'm just saying I can't possibly. It's just I would like to live a life that I am proud of. And that is my only goal. If I can do that, then I think, as Keanu Reeves so eloquently said on Stephen Colbert said, "What do you think happens after we die?" And he said, "I know that the ones who love us will miss us." And I was like, it's allowed to be that simple.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't, whenever I go, I hope that I did enough that when I go, I have that other crazy thing that my dad said to me when I was 8, which is, I'm not going to call you. I think I said this in last season. When I go, I'm not going to call you. I'm going to have a cigarette, a shot of tequila, and I'm going to go out, because that's my time. That's my 5 minutes. And if you don't know already that I love you, then me calling you doesn't mean shit. If I haven't already done those things, then I'm going to panic for the last 5 minutes of my life that I didn't take care of shit. But if I lived a life I can be proud of, if I live a life that I'm happy with, then, hopefully some people will celebrate, and hopefully not in a bad way. Like, yay, he's gone. So yeah.
A life worth celebrating, similar to how Colt's saying, I ask myself basically every day, are you happy with the life and choices you're making? Especially this year, I've asked that. And because there's things I do, or I may say, yeah, I'll go and do that, and I may not want to, but I know there's a reason I need to go do that. Like, times that I'm like been invited to work an event or something like that, and I'm like, I really don't want to be doing this. I really don't want to go. I'm enjoying not working, but something in deep down tells me, no, you should be doing this. And I always listen. I've learned to listen to my gut and my true self a lot more over the last 2 years, and being able to consistently, because I try to write 10 things I'm grateful for every morning, and the amount of times that I write, I'm so grateful that I every day choose the life that I'm living, and I'm so happy with it. And I think that's really what comes down to is like, are you happy the life that you are living? Because in the end of the day, everything's a choice. Like, we may have a 9 to 5 that we don't like to go to, but it's a choice if we keep going to it. And so, are you happy with the choices that you're making? Are you happy with the outcome? And I can truly say, like, I love my life. There's definitely ups and downs. There are parts of me that I wish can change or I want to improve. When I look at the overall picture, like, I surround myself with amazing people. I live in a house that I love. I love every day that the stuff I do, as simple as going to the grocery store, like these simple things. Like, there was an exercise that someone taught me a couple of years ago, and I might have mentioned in the past call, I'll make it a short version of it, but they said, hey, tell me what you're doing Monday. And I was just like, I have to go to dry cleaners, I have to go grocery shopping, I have to go get gas, I have to go wash my car. And I kind of listed other things, and like, okay, cool. But instead of have to, now say get to. And I was like, okay, I get to go to the grocery store, I get to go dry cleaners. And I realized, well, how blessed am I to do these things? How blessed I have these opportunities and options that I get to go do. And so every day I ask myself as much as I can, are you happy with what you're doing right now? And when that moment where I say no is where I pause and I'm like, okay, let's look at what is not working. And even able to stop and reflect on what's not working is what I get to celebrate about my life, because I'm realizing something's not working. I actually take action for that, not just kind of like deal with it and push past it. And even if there are times that I'm sitting having extra couple of beers more than I want to, and I wake up in the morning, I'm not feeling great, like I ask myself and pause, I'm like, okay, what is not connecting? Because you're now numbing yourself. And so there's that showing you that you're not in a position to celebrate your life right now. And so keep coming back to, am I happy in the life and the choices that I'm making? I think it's the thing that makes life worth celebrating.
I have a follow-up to that, Brandon. I'm guessing for some reason that you're going to touch on it, just knowing how these.
No, I'd love for you to go, but I wanted to say you two are some beautiful men. You two are some beautiful men, and I am emotional as shit over here, listening to the two of you just talk openly and vulnerably. I am like fucking choked up because I left off on the last episode. Way to pick up season 2, guys. Thank you. I was emotional saying goodbye. Now I'm emotional saying hello. But I'm just moved. I'm so moved by the sharing. It feels so warm and so fucking good, because death can be so, morbid and dark, and it's like, that's the job well done. When you close your eyes, that's the job well done. So Colt, go, and then I'll share my little piece, but I'm just sitting with it all.
I think there's an irony inherent in the question. So before I go further, if you're going to touch on that, please go. Because like I said, I feel like
I want you to. I do. I want you to.
I think that we ask questions like that of ourselves, but of people as a whole. And we say, how do you live a life that others can respect? How do you live a life that can be celebrated by others? And if there's one thing that we've touched on throughout this episode, it's that that shouldn't matter. Others celebrating you is not the issue. You celebrating you knowing that you did a good enough job is what matters. It's you getting to whatever that moment in your life is where, I pray that there's enough time to just have that moment. I hope there's like a pause button, even if it's instantaneous. I hope there's a pause button, as it were, of a genuine run through of everything, and to be able to then accept it and be like, fuck, this is how it happens. Whoa. All right. Like, I want a bit of joy in the acceptance of it. Selfishly as that may be, I want there to be something where I can say, look, I don't have control over this part, but that's cool. It's not going to come down to whether or not somebody else is okay with what I did. I want to be okay with what I did. There's obviously, I want my wife to be happy with the man that I am. I want my hopefully future children to love who I was, and that I did enough. But if I didn't do enough, I'll be more upset than they will.
Austin.
I love
my
it.
son. My son, please. Dad's talking. Thank you. You touched on it, and I think accidentally, but you know me so well. But actually, I love this. Actually, why he's barking and I'm talking, because I envision that God has given each one of us a glass inside, and that glass is your lifetime, the capacity of it. And in that glass, in the capacity of your lifetime, you have an amount of love, and we'll just call it water for now, to pour out. And as life happens, as you're 2 years old, you're 3 years old, you're 5 years old, you're 10 years old, you're 12, you're 15, you're 20, you're 35, you're 45, 55, 60, 65, and maybe some people's glass stops at 35. The hope is that you get to where you can pour it all out. But to me, each and every day, I try and pour as much as I can from that glass, because I don't know when my day is coming. It's like you said, it's not about people celebrating you. I know that I'm doing what I can, what I've been given, to be kind to someone today, to be good to myself today, to love someone today, to wave to that stranger, to stop for 5 minutes to talk to that kid. They don't know it, but I'm thinking, I don't know where the fuck I'm going. So whatever God's given me while I'm here, I'm pouring this motherfucker out. I'm pouring it out. And I'm going to keep going until the clock stops ticking.
I mean, come on now. Come on now. You know what? I
You get a Brandon moment.
Yeah, I think I'll just say, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes. Oh man.
The Refinery season 2 is
Wow.
It's here. Cheers.
Wow.
I love you guys.
Wow.
Love it.
I mean,
it's a perfect example of living life to the fullest.
Yes.
That was different. Like the whole time you were saying that, I'm like, that's the definition of living life to the fullest. But you just explained it there.
Yeah.
Making the most of the one life we have.
And for the 10th time tonight, deep sigh.
Right? I know, just
yeah.
It's enough to make a grown man cry.
Cry.
Not this grown man.
Not this
man. In there, tear. I love that movie. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't seen Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, check it out on Amazon Prime or Netflix or wherever it is. Check out season 1 of The Refinery down here. Subscribe to this channel over here, and I will throw up y'all's names and hashtags and Instagram names. Follow Thank you so much for the support. Thank you for watching The Refinery Season 2, Episode 1.
Happy Thanksgiving and happy holidays, all that beautiful stuff. Yes.
Happy holidays.
All right.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Talk to you in a few minutes when we get off the phone.
Yes, Jesus. Yes, Lord. Yes.